We streaming live?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so for those of you that are hanging with us really early this morning, our show is going to start at 9:03 Central Time, but we came on early, 7 or 8 minutes early, just to allow time for people to get to this show, because we're blasting the links, I think, on social media. We're still trying to figure out how people watch this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we think we're running some more tests, but we think if you don't have a subscription to the YouTube channel, you can just click on the YouTube icon at the top of the Tero website, tero.com, and that should get you into the show. So we're still very much on a learning curve here about this program, but thank you for those of you that are hanging here and are being patient with our learning curve.
A little footage before the show, but that gives us a chance to recap what we've been doing on the show and what's coming forward.
And thank the people who've been watching us.
Yes.
That makes us feel pretty awesome. And we ended up getting just as many people watched the first episode last week as watched it the previous week. So that's kind of cool. It tells us that this is useful. The analytics are interesting because you can see when people join, how long they stay. It gives you some really good feedback on what people are finding to be most useful.
It does, and we were thrilled last week to have Wayne Bruns on as our guest, and we had a great interview with Wayne. And next week we're going on the 27th, going to have Becky Rupiper Green as our expert.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we had Michelle Whitty our first week, and this week we're going to try something new. So hang with us. It's at about the 14-minute part of this broadcast when we go live. We're going to try a new program, or a new segment that we're calling Table Topics.
We've got some other great guests coming up, though, in the future. April 10th?
Yeah, April 10th, we're going to welcome Scott Racker from the Ray Center at Drake University, and the Character Counts. We're going to do a civility theme on April 10th, so we're excited about that. And we're going to the degree we can, we're trying to go live every Monday morning. But sometimes we've got other commitments, and we've got to be in classes and serving clients, and April 3rd, I think, is our first one. So we're going to mess around with doing a pre-recorded show before that. So give us your feedback when you see live versus pre-recorded. So we are going to go live here, according to my clock, in about 4 or 5 minutes, or begin our program. I guess we're already streaming live. And we're still filming on a smartphone, so we're still working on the technology to do the camera, to get the camera to talk to the computer, to talk to YouTube. We'll get that figured out, so every week when you watch, you're gonna see an elevation in our learning curve on this program that we're bringing.
Yeah, we were really excited. The camera almost came in Friday, and we thought we'd have it for today, and I think it's gonna come in today.
Yeah, there's another part that's arriving
Yes.
today.
Yes.
So, and thank you for those of you who are giving us your feedback and telling us what you think about the show. In fact, we're going to get to look at a few of the questions that viewers have. That's that new segment that we're going to try out today.
We appreciate that. We appreciate you watching. We also appreciate anything that you can email in to ideas@yourinvisibletooolbox.com. We mention that every show, but for you who are seated right now, ready to watch, you're probably the most potential candidates to be able to email in some suggestions. So we really would appreciate that, or whatever you're dealing with in the workplace.
Kyle, we're what, 3 minutes out?
Yep. About 3 minutes here.
Okay. So we get to chat for another 3 minutes before we actually begin this program, instead of just sitting here like we did the first week, and it was terribly boring for anyone that watched it after the fact.
Yes.
And we'll have to figure out if at some point we can just go live at the moment. But this helps people be able to find out that we're live, and gives them time, just on the off chance that they're not glued to their social media every second, and they can come on instantly live. Giving them a little time helps.
Yeah, in 17 minutes. It's a fast-paced program, so it's nice to have people ready to go.
Exactly. I don't know, should we leak the topic for today?
Yeah, let's leak it.
You want to leak the topic?
Well, the topic today is one that so many people have interest around, and that is networking and how to be more effective as a networker. And so we're going to share quite a few different aspects of networking and things you might want to consider. So stay tuned. Most of us are networking regardless of our role or our occupation, we're out there with people, and how do we make the most of those interactions?
Exactly, and how do we avoid some of the common mistakes that we make and going to networking events and not coming away with the type of outcomes that we want? And
Yeah, and a lot of times I think people do network unconsciously, so they just go and they bump into people and they randomly see certain people, but they don't really walk out with a return on investment. And so it'll be fun to discuss this today.
yeah, we'll do it as a bit of a strategy. So we're excited that that's the topic, and hopefully you'll come away with a bunch of good tools from today's program. And we're gonna have to remember to push our volume because
Yes.
we're working with this microphone that's on the smartphone rather than the large one that's gonna happen once we figure out this camera connection. So we're about, I think, a minute and a half or 2 minutes out from 9:03 Central Time.
9:03. Last week was the week that we sprung forward.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Used to that now, so that's good.
You're done with the new time
Yep,
change?
yep.
I've noticed that because it was so much lighter in the morning
Yeah.
and now it's dark again, but it's lovely at the end of the day to
Yeah.
be driving home and it's still got a little bit of daylight. And last week we launched our new
Yes, our
backdrop.
backdrop.
So.
And Kyle is behind the scenes. We're happy to have him.
He's smiling because he's
talk.
gonna give us, when you're going live in less than a minute, I'm
Got
guessing.
a minute here, yeah.
I shouldn't keep saying that, you're going live, because we're already live. We're just gonna start our.
Start the
program.
show.
program.
We're
in a
gonna start
minute,
the
yeah.
show. So I get to have one sip of coffee before we start here. This technology is just awesome. That you have the ability to, we can all produce our own TV shows now.
It's amazing.
The technology, we're actually gonna talk a little about
Yeah.
technology as it relates to
Yeah.
networking today
And
too.
to do it on a phone, just
To do it on a
phenomenal.
phone.
We're thrilled to have our camera coming and be set up and ready, but the phone technology is amazing.
Well, and we've had a lot of really good feedback from people
Mhm.
watching it, that the picture is impressively clear. And we're really glad that we've got an upgrade happening here at Tero on, we're going to fiber and things are gonna get way faster on computers. But right now, it's still streaming fast enough that it's okay. Okay, we're ready to begin our broadcast. Good morning, I'm Rowena Crosby.
And I'm Deborah Renner, and we're your co-hosts for this show. Thank you for joining us for the next 17 minutes for your IT show. Not IT as an information technology, but IT as an invisible toolbox. Today we're going to take a look, and this show takes a look at the invisible tools that are essential to be effective working with others.
We thank those of you who are returning viewers, and we welcome all of the new viewers this week. This is our third broadcast. Last week, we examined the impact that our vocal quality has on our career success and our relationships, and if you missed any portion of that full program is loaded up to the Tero YouTube channel. And today, we're going to look at a career strategy when done well can really move us towards our goals, and when done poorly can really hold us back from success. And that tool is networking.
And we're going to debunk 3 myths about networking that we all tend to believe that are not true in our myth-busting segment. We're also going to take a look at some resources that you can use to network even more skillfully and effectively. And we're going to introduce a new segment, we haven't done this one before, called Table Topics, and that's where we can actually take and reference the questions you submitted and answer those today.
So welcome, we're excited. We're going to invite you right now to contemplate the last conference you attended. And think about how you entered the room before the session started, and think about how other people entered the room. And it probably followed a pretty predictable pattern. When we arrive to a session at a conference, the first thing we do is look around and see if there's any familiar faces, anybody that we know that we can sit with. And if we don't locate any familiar faces, what we tend to do is sit alone, and if the seats are available, the ones on the aisles. And that allows for a quick exit, and if those seats are taken, then we sit 1 or 2 seats away from other people. Now, if the room is crowded by the time we get there, then we're going to have to sit beside someone, and we usually look for someone that maybe has something in common with us, So, and it's just visual attributes, so with their age, their gender, their skin color, maybe if we can get a clue on their profession. That's the pattern when you take a quick look around a conference that the seating takes. The aisle seats are all used up, and we've got people sitting 1, 2, or 3 seats apart.
That is exactly right. We've seen it 100 times, but why do we do it?
Why do we do it? Don't talk to strangers. That is a message that's been imprinted into us since childhood. Parents and teachers use it. You may have said that to your young people, don't talk to strangers. And why do we do that? Well, it's to keep them safe from predators who might be showing false kindness, might be offering candy, or trying to locate a pretend lost pet. And as we mature into adulthood, the part of our brain that's responsible for judgment also matures. And so then we get the ability to discern between who's a stranger that we really need to avoid and who's a stranger that we should probably interact with. So we get that maturity and judgment. Or do we? The imprinting that happens in us early in life, this don't talk to strangers, is so powerful that even later in life, they say that's why about 76% of us suffer from some type of social anxiety when we walk into a room that has strangers in it. And it keeps us from being able to forge relationships with people who could be useful connections in our networks.
Well, does your job require you to interact with people that you don't know? Or does your career success demand that you forge relationships with strangers? Most of us would say yes. Today we're going to look at tools for getting better at what can be the uncomfortable art of networking.
And it is uncomfortable, and that's why we're going to move into a segment that we call Mythbusters, and we are going to bust 3 common myths around networking.
Well, myth number 1 is a common one. It is to put your business card in as many hands as possible. It is said this is the best way to network.
And I think we've all had that advice. You're supposed to carry a bunch of business cards. And I've heard the 3-foot rule. If anybody gets within 3 feet of you, you're supposed to make sure that you hand them your business card.
Yes, it's commonly provided as advice, and it is a myth. The reality is your business card is a tool, and like any tool, we want to use it appropriately and carefully. By giving our card to everyone, we're going to ensure our card is going to probably end up in the wastebasket because it doesn't represent any value. So we want to make sure when we're giving our business cards, we're doing that because there's a reason for that contact information, and we're doing that with the people that we network with.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what's our second myth?
Well, it's another common one, especially in this age of technology. It's to take advantage of the latest and greatest technology. With the advanced methods of electronic communication, we can send more information, we can be more efficient with regards to the information that we are able to provide people and connect. In fact, done right, we may never even have to talk to someone.
And that's kind of appealing to people if we don't need to talk to them. But isn't that what the social networking sites are all about? LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Shouldn't the modern professional be taking advantage of those for networking?
Well, the reality is the technology can help you follow up. It can help you respond to inquiries. It can make your life easier. However, networking has always been and will continue to be a social interaction. Without making a human connection, we're not really effective in building our network.
So using the technology to keep in touch with people who are in our network is a good strategy, but using it exclusively to try to build networks, maybe that could backfire on us.
That's right. And even with the advanced technology, personal contact continues to be the superior way to build those strong networks. Our final myth to debunk today is another one that's commonly heard. When you network, you should seek out the most influential people.
Well, we're all busy. Doesn't it make sense to spend time with people who can help us and not waste time with people who can't help us achieve our goals?
Key decision makers are easy to spot, usually. Not always, but they're usually easy to spot. And yes, it is important to be able to reach out to them, but key influencers can be harder to identify. And the problem here is we sometimes cut ourselves off from certain people certain conversations, certain networking situations, because we think it won't be worthwhile. And yet, we might be cutting ourselves off from enhancing our network. Let's take a deeper dive into the invisible tool of the week.
Well, we already know that network connections are responsible largely for new jobs, for making new relationships, and for new opportunities. We realize the importance of a web of connections and expanding that network. Sometimes we fall prey to the myth of, well, all I need is that big online network and that'll do the trick. And then we're disappointed when our network connections fail to come through for us. It's important for us to remember that at the center of the word networking is found the word work. It's not enough to just want a healthy network. It actually takes some work. The goal of a good networking isn't just to make more connections to us. It's to make a web of connections, some of them very distant to us. And it's another myth that the network connections that are closest to us are the most valuable. Most commonly, the important contacts in your network that are going to give you the new opportunities are the ones that are distant. So said another way, the people that you know the best, if they could help you achieve your goals, they would. Our challenge is to make those more distant connections.
So to make more distant connections with people, we have access to different networks than we would normally.
Yes.
Okay, so relationships better be good, so that link is strong and positive. We can all think of negative links we have with people we've never even met because of word of mouth or something someone has said in our own network that influences that opinion.
Absolutely.
Well, those of you who follow social media, Tero's social media, know that we post relevant links and content every day with regards to interpersonal skills, and now we're going to highlight a couple posts for this week. First, you'll have a link to register for a class called Outclass Your Competition. This is a public workshop offered by the Greater Des Moines Partnership, and it's facilitated by Tero International, and it's 5 hours of networking skills, business etiquette, and dining. It's going to be held April 20th, and if you're a member of the partnership, you actually get a reduced membership fee with regards to registering for the class. You'll find this link on all our social media platforms today, and it involves a 4-course meal. It is a really fun class.
It's a very fun class. It involves a wonderful 4-course meal, and for anyone who conducts business over breakfast, lunch, or dinner, the skills to do that well are really important to acquire. And our second social media post that will come out on Wednesday is to a TED Talk. This is a wonderful way to spend 12 minutes this week. The insightful talk is led by Celeste Headley, where she shares 10 rules on having great conversations. Go out, talk to people, listen to people, she says, and above all, be prepared to be amazed. We hope you'll check that out on Wednesday.
It makes networking sound like a lot of fun.
It does. Well, we thank all of our viewers who have reached out to us with feedback and with questions on email at ideas@yourinvisibletoolbox.com and also on the social media platforms. In this basket, we've collected some of the questions, comments that we've received, and we're going to move into this table topic section where we're going to draw some of these questions, ask them of each other, and respond to common questions that you have. So I'm going to ask the first one of Deb. Deb, do I have to shake hands? Sometimes that feels awkward or uncomfortable.
Thank you for that question. It does feel awkward and uncomfortable when we're networking at times, but we have to recognize to be an effective networker, it's not about us. So it's about making someone else feel comfortable in your presence. And a handshake is putting yourself forward to someone. You make eye contact, you get shoulder to shoulder, you connect, and it's about the other person. So we have to challenge that feeling we may have, get past it. You're actually going to make someone feel pretty good if you take the time to shake their hand. You ready, Ro?
I'm ready for mine.
I'm terrible with names. Are there techniques for remembering names?
This is such an important thing for all of us, and we commonly hear, I always forget names. I'm terrible with names. I can't remember names. Well, first of all, challenge your own thinking on that. The problem may not be your memory. The problem frequently is that the name didn't get in the first place. So one strategy to help you with remembering names is to listen. When you're introduced to someone at a networking event, so many things going on in our mind, we may miss the name. When you hear the name, listen carefully, say it in your mind a few times, use it a couple of times in conversation, although don't overuse it because that can be a little bit annoying. If it's unusual, maybe even ask for clarification on spelling. And a technique that many people find useful is association. So think about your own data bank of memories, and does this person have some kind of a characteristic or an attribute that you can relate to someone else that you know? Do you have something in common professionally or maybe a family situation? And when we can make those connections, the recall is a little bit easier for us. Oh, this is one that many of us struggle with. Deb, if I'm networking alone, which a lot of us avoid doing, what is the best way to approach others?
Well, networking alone is actually advantageous to you because you can get around to the people that are important for you to see. It just doesn't always feel good, but remember, it's not about you. When you are networking alone, make sure that you have open body posture, that you stand aside a group and choose a group of 3 or more. And when you hear a lull in the conversation, just make eye contact. The first person that gives you eye contact, that's your invitation into the group. Go ahead, go in and introduce yourself. You're going to look confident actually waiting if you're in that open posture. And networking alone, people are probably going to be more apt to approach you than if we're networking with a partner.
And that's how we so often do these networking, as we go with a colleague and then the two people tend to hang out together.
Yes. All right. Oh, this is important. How can I tell if I've been successful in my networking? We all want a return on investment.
We do all want a return on investment. How we invest our money and our time is important to us. And how can we tell with networking whether or not that's a good investment? Well, as with most things in life, we need to have goals. And so many of us just do random networking and then wonder if it's successful for us. We encourage you to think about setting some networking goals. In advance, develop a plan, decide who you want to meet, decide what type of events they're going to be at, think about the companies you want to make relationships in, and make a plan for that. And then 6 months out, you can take a look at those goals and how you've worked against those. It's no different than having a fitness plan or a weight loss plan. If we can set a goal, then we can measure our progress. Well, thank you for joining us today. We're getting our warning. If you missed any portion of the show, it's going to be uploaded to YouTube, or if you'd like to share it with others. Tune in next Monday morning at 9:03 a.m. Central Time, where we're going to get expert advice on polishing your personal and professional brand.
And now it's your turn. We welcome your feedback and we thank you for the suggestions for the show. What people challenges are you facing? What things would you like us to address with regards to teams or leadership or customer interactions? You can email your ideas to ideas@yourinvisibletooolbox.com. See the link below. And also follow us on your favorite social media platform and check out the post that we talked about. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can subscribe below as well. And if you subscribe, you'll be alerted to when the show airs. A big thank you to Kyle Plummer, who is our talent director and also our cameraman today. We appreciate his work on the show.
And all the technology.
Absolutely.
Kyle does that as well.
Absolutely.
So before we sign off, we want to leave you with an analogy about the work and the results of networking. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to be welcoming spring, and the gardeners are thinking about getting out into their gardens. So think about what a gardener does. A gardener chooses the right plot of land, tills up the soil, is careful about the selection of plants or seeds, and then will care for that garden throughout the entire growing season, and if done well, enjoy a bountiful harvest. And so it is with networking. To be able to enjoy the results of that, we've got to do the work. If a gardener just throws a pack of seeds out onto the ground, they're going to enjoy a bountiful crop of weeds, and you can repeat that experiment over and over again. Just toss seeds on the ground and you're not going to get results, but care for a garden and you'll see results over time. Networking, like gardening, will not produce immediate results. But over time, when well cared for, it will, and the results greatly multiply. Think about the gardener who plants a single seed, and when that plant is well cared for, it produces hundreds of seeds. Thank you for joining us today, and that's a wrap.